Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Unboxed, the podcast where we unravel the heart and soul of branding, marketing, and technology. Today I have with me Prathiba Leo. She's a TEDx speaker, seasoned communications and soft skills specialist, and coach for over 8 years. She's passionate about helping folks boost their communication skills that are crucial for personal and professional growth. Welcome to the show, Prathiba, and we're so excited and happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. And likewise, the feeling's mutual. Thank you.
So I was just looking at your journey, your career journey, and you've had a very incredible journey, hopping from one region to the other and exploring different industries. You're quite active on social platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And in one of your recent posts, you said something that caught my attention. So you said, don't try to be an influencer, instead be influential.
Yeah.
So I just want to start off by, delving a little bit more into that, because I think there's some inner meaning into what you said. So if you could just break it down for us.
Yeah, so we are in the age of social media today. So everything we breathe in and we breathe out social media. Yeah. So wherever you turn, you have influencers today. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how authentic are they, because I can't speak on behalf of them. Mm-hmm. But from my own experience, I have understood that, I work in a concept that even if Instagram or LinkedIn shuts down tomorrow, people have to remember me for the kind of work that I did, not the kind of, jazz that I brought, like the brands that I associated with. No. Mm-hmm. But when I walk into a room, I want to make sure that people realize that, okay, she's going to bring forth a lot of value. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by saying you have to be influential. Mm-hmm. Because if not now, a couple of years later from this point of time, someone has to remember you and say, you know what, I met this lady and she was speaking about so and so, and it was quite intriguing. Mm-hmm. And that's what meant by being influential. Because see, everybody can be influencers today. True. Everybody. Yeah. It's very easy to become an influencer. No offense to the real influencers though. But to be influential, you have to put in a lot of hard work. Yes. And more than that, you need to have a notion of, you're going to help people. Yes. And it's not about wearing blazers, or it's not about the kind of attire or the makeup that you're wearing. It's not about the external thing that, boasts yourself as becoming an influential person, but rather your personality is what outshines. And that's what I typically mean by saying you have to be an influential person rather than an influencer.
Great. That's quite interesting, because even when we were talking off camera, you mentioned about how people are communicating or posting on social platforms. Yeah. There's a lack of authenticity, especially after the AI revolution, and everybody's using these chatbots to create content, which is very easy now. So could you just delve into some of those, because it's very difficult. You mentioned something. It is what I forgot what you said, but you just mentioned that to find authentic, content, it's very difficult right now, because everybody wants to post something. Mm-hmm. You really don't know who's an expert and who's not. Yeah. And it's very difficult. And you were talking about Gen Z and...
yes. Yeah. First of all, I'm a millennial, so I respect Gen Z a lot, because I feel like the kind of knowledge and the exposure that they have, so much we can learn from them. Yeah. So age is just a number in today's day and age, and we can learn so much. Yeah. But that being said, when you just open LinkedIn or Instagram, let's say LinkedIn, it's a professional platform. But what you see today is someone who proclaims themselves to be successful, while when you do the math, they're not successful. You know what I mean? Like people.
When you look at the number of years or industry exposure or brand, you really don't have that backup. Exactly. But still, you talk a lot about different things, which doesn't add up. I mean, it doesn't connect, right?
The math is not proper there. Somewhere something is missing. And AI is of course our best friend today. We're not supposed to say that AI is going to completely replace us. No. But when I see posts, I'm able to clearly differentiate between what is written by ChatGPT and what is written by someone who's organic. Yes. Now, what I mean by that is it's a simple basic formula of cut, copy, paste. Yes. It's you can take ChatGPT for an outline, but just not depend entirely on it. Because if you see whatever prompts you give, the last line that ChatGPT gives is, feel free to frame it according to your needs. Do not rely on this format alone.
Yes.
So ChatGPT is already smart enough, and it's put out a disclaimer saying, don't depend on me entirely. But there are so many people out there, when they start creating content, what they have in their mind is, let's become viral. But that's not the main intent of, becoming a content creator, or let's say someone who wants to speak about a particular industry, like a thought leader. And especially when it comes to LinkedIn, it's quite hard to delve into who's authentic and who's not authentic, because I'm still struggling myself as well. When I look into a person who's saying, I have so and so years of experience, and when I'm giving them an actual work, they just back out and they say they don't know. And I'm like, okay, but you've put it out in your resume saying you are an expert.
It's the same problem when we interview candidates, they have their very impressive resume, but when you start talking to them, they really don't know what they.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, there's no harm in saying you don't know. Because I stand by the mantra, if you don't know stuff, be willing to grow.
Yes.
If you keep telling you're an expert, that's when growth stops.
Exactly.
And in today's world, when I look into LinkedIn, simply I was just looking into it while posting my content. I was flooded by lots of posts that I didn't even know what to read.
All right.
So it's like a doom scrolling mechanism is exactly what happens here.
Exactly.
And out of hundreds of profiles, I only find minimum 10 to 15 profiles which are really, really authentic. And those are the people that I actually look up to.
And add value, right? Something
Yes.
different, something more personal, something,
Yeah.
An experience that,
Exactly.
right? So, yeah, I think I completely agree with you. It's flooded with misinformation or, lack of authenticity, all these platforms. And it's so easy to create content now that everybody started doing. And even if you're good in prompting the AI, a grade 10 student can look like the CEO of a company and can give out advice on how to run the business. So that's the world we live in. You're a communication specialist. You've been a speaker on TEDx, which is quite impressive. And I just want to ask you a very basic question. What makes a good communication? What is communication, and what makes a good communication?
See, in basic terms, communication just means the process of you sharing your thoughts and ideas. It can be in any language. It's not just reserved that you need to speak in English or French or Italian. It can be even your regional language as well. So language is not a component here. But what matters here is how well are you speaking, so that you need to know how you need to speak to a 5-year-old and how you need to speak to someone who's more than 30 years old. The reason being, if I'm talking to a CEO, that's not the same way I'll be speaking to a 3-year-old child.
Absolutely.
Obviously, my way of talking will change.
Absolutely.
The first most important thing is you have to listen, to be a really good communicator. Listen to respond rather than react. We've all been guilty that, when someone just throws facts at us, we just want to prove them wrong. We're like, no, you're wrong. But the thing is, when you listen and when you dive deep into what are they actually trying to say, you get to understand, okay, maybe they have a different perspective. My perspective is quite different. And this took me a lot of years. I'm not saying that I started off being a great communicator. No, I've failed so many times, and it took me trial and error methods to actually come and zero in on what actually works in communication. Preliminary step is, first you need to listen. Listening skills is very, very important. And then comes how you actually speak.
Absolutely.
You need not, it's not mandatory that you need to only speak in British English or American English. That's a huge misconception that occurs today. As long as you speak proper English,
clearly the other person can understand.
Yes.
And it impacts them, or you are able to get the desired output from that person, right?
Yeah.
Or reaction. That makes a good communication.
Yeah. Now you said something, right? The other person should understand. That's the secret of a good communicator.
Right.
One is listening. Second is speaking in such a way so that there are no jargons and all. You should speak in a format which is easily understandable. And that's all it takes.
In branding, this is something we really tell all our clients, don't make it complicated, make it universal.
Yes.
even our name, the agency name, Moonbox, it's called Moonbox. It's two very straightforward universal names. Moon is an object of wonder. People, look at the sky, they can see the moon, be it the caveman or the present day man, be it a baby or an old man, they all know what the moon is. Any language, you know what the moon is. So taking something that simple, and box is also a very common universal term, and combining those two. So it's whenever we connect with our potential clients, they say, okay, it's a very interesting name. It's easy for us to remember. There's it's not misspelled, or it's not, you don't have to give, sometimes when you give the name out of a company, you have to spell it out for them because it might be misspelled or it may sound different and stuff like that. So it's very, very straightforward, like Facebook, so it's two very common words.
Yeah.
So it's about simplifying, breaking it down, and giving it in bite-sized pieces, making it easy for the other person to understand. Like communication is a topic that is very close to my heart, because this is something I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to improve on a daily basis, and that's the reason why I started this podcast as well, so that I can improve myself on various on various aspects.
You're a phenomenal speaker. I can actually feel that sense of vibe in you. So
even when I talk to my kids, what I tell them is that, okay, school is one thing, you can have the best grades. But if you really want to succeed in life, try to learn how to communicate, try to learn how to understand people skills, and communication. These are two critical aspects of how you can succeed in life. And because schools will give you grades, there are high level top players. The best students don't always become the most successful, or if you ask me, the people who are doing well today in my class are the people who are sitting in the back bench, always willing to take risks. They were really good in talking to their friends and convincing them, influencing them, and things like that. And this is also an example of something I just mentioned off screen, where we were talking, and I was watching Netflix and the series Narcos. So he's it's the story of Pablo Escobar. He's one of the most notorious criminals, drug kingpin in the world. And but he was a very effective communicator, right?
Yes.
There were people willing to die for him. So I know it's not for the right intention, but he was good in making sure that he was able to communicate, and people were willing, his closest people were willing to even die for him. So that's what effective communication looks like. So I just want to understand, like, because we interact with different people, like you said, the way you communicate to a 3-year-old is different from the way you communicate with the CEO of a company. How do we adapt our style? And is there any secrets to that?
So what happens is, this comes purely out of experience. But thanks to online media today, you don't have to entirely go out and learn everything. You have YouTube, you have Skillshare, you have Coursera, you have tons of places where you can learn all these things. Just type in communication secrets at workplace. You will find exact videos of how people are speaking to a CEO. Example, if you can watch a program which is known as Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, you see how they speak to an investor.
Yes.
But that's not the way how people will speak to a customer. Investor is business oriented.
Yes.
Customer is psychology oriented.
Yes.
And that's the main thread what I actually observed in that show.
All right.
And I have the habit of taking notes, so I used to do all these character analysis. And when I observed, like, okay, is this the way how I talk to an investor, I admired that, and I followed that exactly on how I speak to a leadership team. So what I do is, I took a lot of risks in my career. I knew it's gonna anyway backfire at me, so I was like, okay, might as well practice that. And during my first stint in my company, so I worked in Amazon, and I had that was the best place where I learned all of these skills, and I brushed my skills, and they the managers which I worked there are still my mentors today as well.
Okay.
And they helped me in understanding, like, this is how you're supposed to talk in a meeting setting. This is how your tone is supposed to be like this. And luckily I had a mentor. But for people who don't have a mentor, what I would suggest is just go out in the world, go to events, go to networking events, and watch all these kinds of business shows. Which reminds me, there is a show in NBC, I don't remember the exact name. If you just type in Sundar Pichai NBC, they show a day in life of a Google CEO, a day in life of McKinsey and Company CEO. So they'll take you around the company, and they'll show exactly how Mr. Sundar Pichai, deals with his employees, and that's not the way how he talks to his family. So when you observe all those granular details, those are the details which you have to actually amalgamate even in your career as well. Now, what I mean by that is, learning is one thing, but if you don't execute what you're learning, you'll easily forget it. And it took me a lot of trial and error. Of course, I made tons of mistakes, and that being said, I was mocked, I was made fun of, I was teased, but I did not let anything affect my spirit of being a good communicator. My ambition was, if people are going to leave this room, even if I meet them after a couple of years, they should remember, like, oh, you are that girl who spoke about something about this topic in that meeting. And that's what I want people to remember me as. And,
I think you made a very good point there. Apart from the courses that you can avail online, it's also going that extra step. Like you said, in your case, I know everybody is different, but in your case, even when you're watching something or observing something, you start taking notes and then try to, implement that in your probably life or in the way you communicate with other people. So that's a great point that I think everybody should take note of. And I think I'm definitely going to take note of that as well. Because it's really what you see around us, different people communicating with different in different styles, and if you're able to absorb that and take pointers, we don't have to copy them, but take pointers and then try to practice and implement. I think it goes a long way, right?
Yes, and above all of this, it takes a lot of patience.
Yes,
it's not like a quick fix results. I cannot promise that.
True.
Because these are all done at grassroots level. So the basement should be very strong, and then it's like a cakewalk.
Yes. You talked about the workplace. Now, workplace is somewhere where, I personally feel, because I've observed this in my career and the places where I worked, if you are an effective communicator, you get promotions quickly. You're closer to the boss, and So, how do you navigate the workplace? Are there any secrets? Because workplace is a very dynamic environment where you have conflicts, where you need to influence people to go with your ideas, probably convince your juniors to follow you if you're a manager, and if you are an employee, convince your manager to believe in your ideas. So it's a very dynamic environment. So how your thoughts on communication in the workplace? What works, what doesn't work? Are there any secret tips for that?
So once you enter a job, right? For example, if you're a fresher, just fresh out of college, your resume or your CV is more than enough for you to get inside that job.
Yes.
Now, what depends about your survival is how well you can convince the other person that you're worth spending their money, let's say investing their money on. That's what matters in any organization. It can be a corporate, it can be a startup. And promotions usually in both corporates and startup not only depends on the kind of work that you do, but you have to showcase the work. And that's the main thing, like I can do tons of work, and if I stay silent, my manager might not even know that I exist.
True.
Or I'm just some kind of a person who's just signing the attendance log and I'm leaving. But that's not the kind of a person that I want to be. And I remember, one of my closest friends, he gave me this advice, and he said that, if you want to be really successful in a corporate environment, observe the loudest person in the room.
Okay.
Because he or she is the one whom everyone takes note of.
Yeah.
And even if it's not about what kind of work that they're doing, but it's about how they're projecting themselves. If I keep projecting myself as a confident person, I'm not saying fake it, I'm saying face it. Just face it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You might not do that project. Well, it's okay. 1 or 2 projects, if you flunk, third project might be a great success.
True.
But only if you ask them that. If you don't ask what you're worth for, the answer will always be no. So that when I'm saying all of this, I have to mention that, I was the odd duckling. I didn't have lots of friends during my school life as well as my corporate life, because I was always singled out as, oh, she is trying to be someone she's not. But the truth is, this is me. And now everyone understands that, because it's, even if you're faking it, right, you can only fake it for a short time. You can't fake it for decades to come.
True.
That's the personality.
True.
And when you go to a workplace, what people fall for is the personality that you carry. Even if you do a very big failure, let's say you've cost the company billions of dollars, but what happens is, how resilient are you? You have to bring that company forward and say, no, you know what, I'm going to fix this.
I want to work in that company.
Yeah. Well, luckily, all these new-gen companies today, they are very, resilient, and they are okay with whatever you do. So I'm so jealous of this generation kids.
Yeah, I think you make a point there. Actually, it is true. Everything that you say. Coming to public speaking, you've been a speaker on TEDx, and I just want to your thoughts and ideas, like someone who's scared to go out on the stage and give a public speech. What are the tips, tricks, and things to note? I know practice is important, tone, modality, and I think that's generally part of communication. The way your pitch, your tone, how you modulate, how you emphasize on different words. Can you get into the technicalities of speech and giving a TED talk or a major speech, major talk on a big platform?
So the key here is, when you're giving a speech, you don't have to invent anything. You have to just model what other people are doing. Not talking about plagiarism here. I'm not talking about imitation. I'm talking about emulation. You have to emulate the other person. There is a TED talk about Shah Rukh Khan, where he speaks about how he started from scratch and how he's still the SRK in the industry. Like, he's been in the industry for over 2-3 decades now, and there's no one who can replace him.
Yes.
But if you observe his talk, the kind of humility and the kind of humbleness that he carries are the traits of someone who are just starting out in their career. So you have to decode what the other person is speaking. The trick is very simple. Just spend 20 minutes every single day. Either watch a TED talk or watch someone who's extremely influential. For example, let's say Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Watch all their interviews, observe their body language, note down all these points. One talk is more than enough. If you just spend 20 minutes, you try to prepare for something, even if that does not exist right now. What the difference between great speakers and good speakers are is, great speakers are always ready. Even if there is no opportunity that lies. They have the mindset that, I'm preparing for this. I don't know when this opportunity is going to come, but when it comes, I'm going to be prepared. But good speakers are the ones who will only prepare once they get a slot in TEDx. If you've seen, if you've observed, like, I have many of my friend circle who also say, Prathiba, why are you practicing so much? It's not like you have something tomorrow. But what I tell them is, always prepare. Keep it in advance, so that you don't have to start from scratch. And when you observe all these great people, right, what I'll always suggest is, take your phone. And you don't have to look at yourself in the phone. Look only in the camera pinhole and start talking about whatever you feel. You don't have to have a fancy tripod. You don't have to have a fancy setup. No, just start speaking whatever comes out of your mind. It can be full of grammar mistakes. It can be full of, mixing of English with any other language. It's fine. Just talk. Once you start, then you will know, okay, this is where I'm supposed to work on. This is where I'm supposed to not work on. Second most important thing is, don't look at what's going to happen if I fail that. What happens is, when you think so much negatively, that kinds of manifests into reality. Rather than focusing on what's going to happen if I don't do this, just focus on, I'm going to give this my best. That's going to come or not, it's okay. I'm just going to give it my all. Even if it doesn't go, worst case, you will not have any regrets.
Absolutely. It's about self-training, I guess.
Exactly. And the third most important thing is, you should not hang out with people who are always pulling you down. That's the main thing. People always think that public speaking is more about speaking, but according to me, when I've coached people throughout these years, I've understood that it's a lot to do with internalization. The more you feel good about yourself, that is automatically shown. You smile, your eyes are wide open, and you speak without blurting out any nonsense. And that happens when you have that confidence, and that happens when you know that you have absolute faith in what you're saying. I always hang out with people who are way better than me, because I know that I have so much to learn. If I'm hanging out with someone who says you're worthless, you're useless, just what happens is you believe that, and then you'll be like, why should I prepare? That's not the kind of thing. And that's the reason why I always suggest, go to networking events. Once you go there, you see the best people, then the next thing that you want to do is, I want to be that person, and you work towards that. So it's like a journey, and then you start listening to podcasts, you start listening to interviews. That is a step number 10. But the mistake people do is they start from step number 10 and they go to step number 0.
They work backwards.
Exactly. You have to first fix the internal things. Then you go towards interviews, listening to podcasts, and observe what the great people are doing. Just model it. In social media world, we say model content, which means you don't have to invent ideas. Ideas are already there. Just do it in your own style. That's the same when it comes to public speaking as well.
We live in Dubai, which is a very highly multicultural place. And there are a lot of non-English speakers. There are also people who speak English, but English is not their native language or the first language. English is not my first language. And at one point in my life, I used to think that having the right accent is critical. But over the years evolved, my thought process has evolved. And I feel that even if you don't have the right accent, if you are able to communicate what you want to say, and if the other person is able to understand it clearly, that is more than enough. You meet different people from all walks of life, different nationalities, and you speak to them. Some are really great. We have clients from Africa, we have clients from the Arab world. They speak English to us, and it's so easy for us to connect with them, and so effectively they communicate in English that you really start building a strong bond and relationship with them. What is your view on this? How important is accent in communication? Do we need to ape the British or the American accent, and do we need to, or just follow our own way of speaking?
So now actually we are in the exciting part of the world, which is Dubai. So exactly in the Middle East of the world. So you have access to both Southeast Asian, South Asian, as well as the Western world as well. So we are very grateful, and we are very lucky that we are in this part of the country. In that context, we are in a place where there are a mix of Russians, where there are Europeans, where there are, let's say, Americans, Australians, so many nationalities. But, when I came here a year ago, that's when I understood that people will only remember you when you're being very authentic. Sometimes when you mix American and British accent, right, what happens is you yourself might not understand what you're speaking. You'll be like, am I speaking this correct thing? Because when I started off in my career, I used to do a lot of these things. I used to mix American accent and British accent. But at the end of the meeting, I'll be like, did I convey what I wanted to convey? And this sparked a lot of misinterpretations. I will say it in some other tone. They might understand in another tone. But down the line, what I understood that, accent doesn't matter. As long as you speak the language, whatever language is it, clearly, in a clear way, pronunciation should be really perfect. Most important thing is, even if you feel like your grammar is weak, just keep going. That's a secret of a person who's fluent in any languages. You learn only when you make tons of mistakes. It's okay. Just keep learning, because I have seen, the most confident people, even if the grammar is like really fumbling, right? What they're trying to say is even more clearer, but then they'll correct it later on. It takes some time for them to brush up, but the other group of people, they just back off. They're saying, oh no, I'm educated in a regional medium. I don't know if I can speak confidently. And they're conditioned to be like that. So movies are also something to blame here. If you see Indian movies, I'm from India, obviously.
Yes.
And when they show an American character, obviously their accents are different. And that's how they are showing them.
Yeah.
And well, that's true, because when you're in a country for over a year, you stick to that accent.
Yes.
Nothing wrong in that. But you don't have to change yourself to suit other people's needs. That's not necessary. You can just be normal and natural, because that's the only way how people are going to remember us. And that's all that matters.
Prathiba, you've mentioned you're evolving yourself, you're constantly learning. What does your typical day look like when it comes to, you're passionate about communication, you talk a lot about it, you coach people, and you're learning, you said you're learning. What does your average day look like, and how much of time do you set aside to actually, do you emphasize on this, or it just goes, it's just part of your day-to-day stuff?
So I do a method of calendar blocking. I cannot survive without my Google Calendar.
Oh, right.
Even if I have to cook or take shower, that's blocked in my Google Calendar. It says shower time, cooking time.
Okay.
So thanks to technology, I'm leveraging this in this kind of a way. And even my friends and husband also ask me, are you crazy? Why are you blocking your calendar like this?
Exactly.
But that's the only way I can function.
Yeah.
And it's not like this productivity geek or this productivity nerd. No, I just like a systematic way of living. And I always block 1 hour, which is upskilling time. Upskilling in the sense, I need not sit and take notes or sit and take a course. What I'll do is I'll go to someone's profile. I'll observe the kind of post that they're doing. And I'll be like, okay, if this person is doing it like this, why can't we solve the problem in a much different way? I retrospect. Sometimes I journal about it. And it's been like a part and parcel of my life, because in this constant evolving age, if you don't upgrade yourself in terms of knowledge, you're easily replaceable. People say that AI is going to replace you. I completely disagree with that. I agree with the fact that, you will be replaced only when you are irrelevant in today's world. And we are becoming irrelevant every day. So you have to, it's like mandatory that you have to upskill yourself. And in my day, I, learn as well as I apply immediately. And whatever I'm learning, I share it with my community as well. I say, you know what, I found this book. Maybe you guys should read this. So I have a group wherein, apart from my coaching as well, I have a private group on Instagram wherein I share day-to-day tips on communication, something which can be like a TED talk, which I found quite intriguing. Sometimes people might share saying, I went to a meeting and I was so scared to shake someone's hand because I have butterfingers. Because that's also a common problem. And then I speak to them and I coach them, and I send them voice notes and I say, you don't have to worry, you do this, you do that. And it's a lot of engagement. I listen to what other people are also doing and I help them. And apart from that, just it sort of keeps going. Dubai keeps us going. So,
Prathiba, you've been part of Toastmasters, right?
Yeah.
And you've talked about tips on how to improve communications. For people who don't know, I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't know what is Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Can you explain what is Toastmasters, and will being part of Toastmasters help them in their public speaking or communication building?
So Toastmasters International is a non-profit organization. So it is established with its headquarters, I think, in San Francisco or California. I'm not quite sure about that. But its headquarters is in USA. And they have a club in every area of the city. For example, now we are in downtown of Dubai. In downtown, at least you can find minimum 10 to 15 Toastmasters club. I'm saying minimum.
Really? Okay.
And these clubs are easy to run. You can start a Toastmasters club. I can start a Toastmasters Toastmasters Club. The membership fee is as low as, let's say, $45 to $50 US dollars for 6 months or something like that, because that's how much I paid when I started, during my corporate days as well. And it's a place for you to leverage your speaking skills, because it is a non-judgment space. Nobody's going to laugh at you. Nobody's going to make fun of you, because that's a place where everybody is looking to learn. And there are some regional clubs. Sometimes I've seen clubs happening in Malayalam or Tamil or Hindi. And then there are pure English speaking clubs as well. I'll always suggest you to step out of your comfort zone. Maximum go for clubs, which is being organized by other nationalities, so that, it's like more of a risk factor, because you're already intrigued in saying, okay, what am I going to do? And when you go to these clubs, right, you have like 5 levels. And when you finish 5 levels, you are awarded with one typical division head or directorial, something like that. And nothing is monetized here. That's a disclaimer that I have to say.
It's a non-profit.
Yes, whatever you do, you are investing your time and your energy. It can happen weekly twice or weekly once, bi-weekly, but minimum 2 to 3 hours you have to invest. It's never a waste of time, I'm telling you. It's a place where you observe people. You can give your speech. You will be evaluated by the best people, and even they will give you the opportunity so that you can also be an evaluator to someone's speech. So once you complete like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 till level 5, and then you have other levels as well, other departments. For example, I chose the zone of effective coaching and mentoring because I wanted to study in depth. And not only did I find a very supportive community, I found a place, where I can be outspoken about my fears, because I had a fear of what if I forget everything on stage. And when I mentioned that to them, they typically made me stand on stage and they'd be like, start speaking. And it's like, now that became like a second family to me. And my club is obviously in India, it's not here. I interact with them whenever and wherever I can. It need not be like a physical club. You can be based in any country. You're in Dubai now. You can join a club which is in US as well. So there is no...
Is it online?
Yes, online. There is no limitation that only this nationality can join, only this country people can join, or only this district.
So is it completely online, or is there face-to-face as well?
It's hybrid.
Okay.
Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's online, because thanks to the pandemic now we have leveraged online environment to the max, so that you can join in any corner of the world. You can join a club in Australia as well. So
great.
It's as simple as that.
Great. So for someone who wants to join Toastmasters, where should they go to the website?
You should go to the official website, which is toastmasters.org. And then you'll find a map symbol there. So you can zero in on which location you want to study. For example, we are in Dubai right now. You want to go to Chennai. When you click on the pin location in Chennai, at least there are minimum 150 clubs in Chennai. Minimum. For each area, like I mentioned, like in downtown 10 to 15. So many areas are there in around Dubai. If you go, I think the last time when I saw the website, I was able to find 300 clubs in Dubai alone. Forget about the other Emirates. So if you go to Ras Al Khaimah or if you go to Abu Dhabi, the numbers are even great. And luckily, these clubs happen during weekdays itself. So you don't have to spend your time on weekends and go.
Okay, great.
So it happens like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Very convenient for working professionals and students as well. In fact, I checked out one club which is in Al Karama, and it was really, really nice. And that was my first club which I joined. After 3 days, I landed in Dubai. So
wow. Okay.
Nice.
So anyone looking to improve their communication skills, Toastmasters is a good start, you would say. And there are different levels where they can improve, keep going, and become an expert. I've watched some of the Toastmaster. They have a competition, I guess, right?
Yes.
And I think one Qatari one or something.
International speech contest.
Yes. So it was quite interesting. He's not a native English speaker, but yet the way he communicates, the language, the words that he's using, quite impressive and quite impactful as well at the same time. Now, I know I'm taking a lot of your time, but Simple or jargons? Should we use simple words or jargons? What is your take on simple words?
Every time. It's the easiest
no matter who
way.
you're speaking to.
Just make it as simple as you can, because see.
So jargons are only for your school essays, or?
Exactly. Limit it only for your English non-detailed class. Don't bring it to real life.
Yeah.
Because the more simpler it is, the less
even
complicated.
For business, even for business.
The more simple it is, the more easier and less stressful it's going to be.
Right.
Let's face it, there are so many complications running around us. Why are we complicating things?
True. We've had this problem with our clients as well. Even for us, sometimes when we write copies and when we give it to clients and they're non-native English speakers, and they can't understand basic the meaning of some basic words. So we really have to break it down and simplify it further. We have to rewrite and remove those words. And then, because again, when you're in Dubai, you're talking to a global audience. We are talking to a universal. It has to be simple and it has to be easy to understand. Mm-hmm. Any specific books that you can recommend for people who are looking to improve on their communication skills, or even YouTube videos or any channels that you specifically recommend?
For an absolute starter who is an ardent fan, or let's say who is very sincere in developing communication skills, I'll start by saying start from comics. Start from kids.
Comics?
Yes.
I thought comics were used bad language. I mean, not bad language, it was not structured, and everyone says stay away from comics.
No, sometimes what happens is if you want to get an array of vocabulary, you need to start from there.
All right.
Because let's say if there's someone who doesn't have the habit of reading, and if I'm going to give them a Shakespeare level of English book, they'll run away the first day.
Right.
So if someone who's very new to reading, I'll always suggest, start from comics. Or if you're a seasoned reader, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant is a wonderful book for you to develop your skills. Not only does it opens your different perceptions on life, about wealth, about happiness, but it also speaks how you can speak to a person. It need not be someone who's like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but acquaintances, family relationships. And there's another book which is, I don't exactly remember that. Wow, I read so many books that I'm at a loss of words and thinking what to exactly say. Oh yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's one wonderful book. And, if I say something which is really programmed to communication, people are actually scared of it. They'll be like, this is so tiring. And even though they feel it like that, I'm going to say this.
It's more of an academic kind of...
And if a person who's listening or watching to this podcast has an aspiration to become a public speaker on TED platform, there's a book known as TED's Guide to Official Public Speaking. TED's Official Guide to Public Speaking. So it's written by the CEO of TED, I suppose.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of books on TED getting on. I mean, how to speak on a TED talk, and so this is the official.
That is the official book by the TED publications.
Okay, great.
You type it on Google, you type it on Noon, any website you see. It's an international version, can be shipped worldwide. And ever since I've gotten my copy of it, it speaks about what to wear till how to even breathe on stage. It's
really?
Very simple. Very, very simple language. Even a normal person, I mean a complete normal person can even understand, who has no idea about public speaking, no jargons. That's one best example of, someone writing a book which is very in the most lenient language as well. So it's hands down the best book for public speaking.
I'll take a note of that. I think I'll have to have a look at it.
It's very useful. I recommend it to my clients as well. So all of them, they have a copy.
Great.
And which reminds me, this
you
Ren
get it
and
on
Martin.
Amazon?
Okay. Everywhere. This Ren and Martin books, which we used to have as 90s, right?
Yes.
That's one book where you can practice your grammatical skills and all.
Great.
So that's
useful. Thank you, Prathiba. I mean, you've been, what you've shared today has been quite insightful and quite practical and quite informative as well. So I'm looking forward to using some of the tips that you've mentioned. But before I let you go, I have one last question. It's going to be a tough one.
Okay. I'll try answering that.
So, in your view, who is the greatest communicator that, it can be someone from the past or the present, or let's say if you want to give one from the past and one from the present, let's...
Very, very tough question, because I come across many people who are like that. From the past, I would love to say Princess Diana.
Really?
I love listening to the way she gives out her speech, not just for the general public. If she goes for any community events in, let's say, Rwanda or South Africa, the way she speaks to people is something which I connected at a very young age. So when she passed away, I think I was like 3 years old, and my father, used to, he was a big fan of Lady Diana as well, and he used to bring us this VCR, DVD tapes and all back then. And we used to listen to a lot of her speeches, what she used to give in United Nations, or how she used to address the community. And she's one influential person whom I look up to. I'm a very big fan of her. I guess I got that notion of public speaking from her. She's one influential person. So if someone is looking to develop their skills, look into her past interviews or her community events, and it's amazing, I would say.
And someone from the present?
Present? You mean an influential person, or
anything? A good communicator, like someone who connects with people.
There's someone known as, it's very contrary because she's a journalist, and I'm a very big fan of her. Her name is Palki Sharma.
Palki Sharma,
So she's the journalist of First Post or News Post. I don't know what exactly it is.
Yeah, now she's in First Post, I guess.
First Post, right? So, whatever she speaks, everything makes absolute sense, because it's not that there's a teleprompter in front of her and she's reading. No, she's actually feeling what she's saying.
Really? Okay.
There was an article about how to let go of toxic people, and she was exactly saying about her experience as well. She's saying toxic people inside your life is a harm to your health. And this came out on YouTube, like, let's say 4-5 months or something like that. It just came into my feed. I just binge watched one of her episode, and I then started watching lots of her interviews and what she speaks. So I was able to understand that, she's not just reading the news, she's not reporting the news, she's actually feeling what she's saying. And I think that's what everyone who wants to be an exceptional communicator, I'm underlining the word exceptional, is you have to feel what you're speaking. It's not just blah, 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 blah. It's not that.
True.
You have to feel. And she's the best example, and I really, really look up to her for that. And I'm a great fan, really big fan of her.
Great. Nice to know. Interesting, actually. For me, if you ask me, I haven't really thought about it just now. Like, something that comes to my mind suddenly is like, if someone from the past, something that comes to me quickly is Muhammad Ali, the boxer. Although he was great in the ring, outside the ring, the way he communicates, he was very quick, he was very sharp. Even with the reporters or any of the messages he wanted, it was very effective in the way. And even he used to play a lot of these mind games with his opponents so he's a great, that's one person. I haven't really thought about it, but that's one person from the past comes to my mind. In the present day, I think Obama is a really good example of a public speaker.
Exactly.
His not just the words that he uses, not the speech writers, but how he delivers it, the tone, the modality, and a lot of other things that comes together on how he delivers something and how people accept it, and how he's able to drive a movement or drive the people for a cause or something. So that really stands out.
When you just spoke about Obama, I want to add one more person. It is Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio. So it's not just an actor.
I haven't actually seen...
you should. Yeah. I would suggest you not to see his movie interviews, but you have to see his interviews on environmentalism. So he's an active advocate of climate change and of global warming. So in his the Oscar that he even received for The Revenant, maybe 20 seconds he spoke about the movie, but the rest 1.5 minutes he was speaking about climate shift. And that speech, I think that's the best speech hands down on Oscar history. Nobody else can do that like him. And ever since that, I've seen all of his interviews when it comes to environmentalism, and he's even a United Nations ambassador for climate change. He is the advisor even with for White House. He goes all for those press conferences. And I don't think there's a spokesperson for him. He's actually preparing it on his own. So when I say Palki, when I say Leonardo DiCaprio, they all speak from their heart. And Obama, like you said, is like an amazing example of that as well. So,
all right.
So many great personalities that we're surrounded by.
Thank you, Prathiba. Thank you for the tips, tricks, and secrets to great, powerful communication. It was wonderful having you, and thank you for being part of the show once again.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Ajay. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching the show, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube, and you can just search for Unboxed with AJ. See you in the next episode. Thank you.